Are we all set? So we could get started with our finance meeting, please. I'd like to call the December Finance Committee meeting to order at this time. And I need a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. If someone would like to do so. Mr. McDevitt, seconded by Mr. Simpson. Any additions or corrections? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll go on to the action agenda, the request for transfers of funds as attached for the committee approval. You've all had a chance to look those over, so if someone would like to make a motion for that transfer. Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Request items to be discussed by the county treasurer. Mike, it's all yours.
Good morning, everybody. Item A is a request to transfer funds in the amount of $4,480 from contingent account to cover the difference in property taxes for county land in the industrial park. For those of you, just to bring you up to date, this is the land that's over on Queensbury Avenue where the armory is, and that we were at one point in time last year going to sell the remaining lots in there to the EDC. That did not happen because they were concerned about the probability of being able to sell them. So the county has to pay the taxes on it, and it was underestimated by $4,480, the amount that we owe.
All right, would someone like to make that motion? Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Carol? That's me.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question about that, or do you want me
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, that's okay. It wasn't about the motion exactly, but just to know if we have any plans for getting rid of that land.
It's being marketed. That's all I know about it. I know that Ed Bartholomew at the time was working on it quite a bit, trying to market it. I have not discussed it with the new director down there yet. But I mean, there's for sale signs on it. It's on all of the websites that I've seen as far as, you know, publications for trying to bring people into the county.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Would you like me to add to that?
Sure.
I did speak with Jim Siplon about this, and that they did get that report going. It got caught up in the transition with Ed, but that report will come back to the board. And there are some challenges in marketing those properties, but EDC is still working on it.
Mr. Spahn, go ahead.
All right. B is a request to appropriate funds in the amount of $60,000 from the general fund, unappropriated surplus in the amount of $60,000 to budget code A 2490-439 community college tuition. For those of you who don't know, if a resident of Warren County goes to, let's say, Herkimer Community College and is enrolled there, they are only charged half of the tuition, and Warren County makes up the other half of the tuition. The same way as if somebody from Herkimer County comes to SUNY Adirondack, they only have to pay half of the tuition to SUNY Adirondack, and the other half is made up by Herkimer County. We had budgeted $400,000 in this line item. For the last 5 years, that item has gone down steadily by small amounts. This year, we're over about $52,000 right now. So I need $60,000 to cover for the end of the year.
All right, would someone like to make that motion? Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. Any discussion? Any questions? Yes. Supervisor Garrity.
Do you get a breakdown of where the students are going, Mike?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, we
break down by county or?
Oh yeah, by college and county.
Oh,
because they bill us. In other words, any community college.
No, I understand. It's a chargeback.
They send us, it's a chargeback. They send us a bill. So we have all the information as to exactly who and where all of the money is going.
Maybe if you have a chance, I don't think it's pressing, but you could see where from last year to this year, more students are going to different colleges. If you can get a chance to do that.
A lot of them,
is it Hudson Valley or no?
No, it's,
yeah.
I don't remember the exact name, but there's a school in New York City that's, I can't.
FIT.
All right, okay. There's a lot of them that have been going there, and that is extremely expensive.
Especially,
And we've had more go there this year than in past years.
we're gonna have a lot of designers.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Thank you for the input.
Are we ready to vote then? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
Are we okay, Ben?
Yeah, I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, I need a request for a new contract with Corn Ferry for actuarial services. The cost is detailed in here. They are not the low bidder. I want to tell you this right now. However, the low one, I've got to look at my notes. This is the one. The low bidder is a company out of White Plains that only has 2 contracts within New York and has not done any of these type of audits before. And the amount of staff time that it would take to bring them up to speed way outweighs the amount of money that we would save by going with a low bidder. And this is for, just to give you an idea, actually, this is a required audit by the state of New York. We don't have any choice. And this is basically an audit to a statistical analysis to see if we are at risk in the future for insurance claims problems, pension problems, or et cetera.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion on that one? Supervisor Garrity, second Supervisor McDevitt. Any questions? All right, then we'll ask the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Thank you.
All right, the next one is a request to enter into a contract with Maximus Consulting Services for indirect cost analysis. We've had a contract with them for 15 years. This is another situation where they're not quite the low bidder. However, the other bidder is from Florida and has no contracts or experience in New York State. The amount of time, again, that my staff would have to take to bring them up to speed would just far outweigh any savings we have. And this is also a required audit. And these look at indirect costs that are associated with projects like salaries and so on. Over the years, we've been able to save quite a bit of money with these audits.
All right, if you want to make that motion. Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. Any questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, the last item is a request to authorize cancellation corrections of assessments and refunds and chargeback for taxes approved by the Director of Real Property Tax Services or the town supervisors for the year of 2020. And I do have to apologize. This should have been done back in April, and it sat on the corner of my desk and got lost until about 3 weeks ago. So I apologize for that, but we do need to get it done.
All right, I would like a motion for that then. Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions about anything else while I'm here? Okay, thank you.
We have, I think one, Mr.
I
Swan.
know I shouldn't have said
Yeah,
that.
right.
Thank you, Treasurer Swan and Chairwoman. Where are we with the Airbnb issue?
We are trying to figure out a way to register all 877 of them countywide, which will put our registrations from 250 to well over 1,000. The county attorney's office, and I haven't had any discussions with Ryan Dickey in the last couple of weeks about this. We are in discussions with Airbnb about trying to get them to collect it for us. And that is an open and dialogue that is being worked on. Other than that, we have collected short-term rental receipts. We haven't got a lot because they're not due the first batch until the end of this month. So we will know in January how much we're collecting.
Okay, thanks. I just want to put out there, I mean, a lot of people are complaining about having to collect it themselves.
Oh, I know. Believe me. Of those 877, I think I've heard from 400 already.
And so the sooner we can get that dang thing under control, the better.
But we can't enter into an agreement with them that's not correct in what we should be doing. That's where the sticking point is. One of the things that, go ahead, Mary, before I say
I don't want to
something.
interrupt you.
Oh, no, before I say something I shouldn't, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it would be wonderful if those property owners could reach out to Airbnb and say, we would rather you collect this money than us. Because that's part of the problem. Airbnb is refusing. They're putting everything on their property owners. So if they could talk to Airbnb and say, we would prefer you do this, then maybe Airbnb will talk to us.
This is really confusing because we have, we know Washington County, Essex County, other counties, Airbnb did it like with no problem.
Well, I wouldn't say there was no problem, but without trying to sound pompous or something, those agreements that they worked out in those counties are very one-sided for Airbnb. Okay, extremely one-sided. If I'm not saying something correct.
No, they're there.
And I'm thankful that our legal department in this county has decided that we need to take a stand on this and make sure that our side is represented in that agreement. And that's been kind of the sticking point because Airbnb doesn't want to relinquish some of what we're asking for.
What is that? What are we asking for? What is you said sticking point?
So the contracts with the other counties, Airbnb has agreed to give them a set amount. So they're not actually collecting the requisite amount of occupancy tax. They said, hey, if we sign this agreement, we'll give you $12,000. That's it. We're going to give you a set amount. Whereas we're looking for them to collect our occupancy tax and remit it back to us. And something else they've been doing is they've been leaving it up to the property owners whether or not they want to collect the act tax. They're remitting it to Airbnb, and Airbnb's keeping it. They're not keeping track of who's collecting that act tax and giving it back to the county. They're just keeping it. So,
well, they obviously they can if they only have to pay a set amount to the counties. I didn't know that was what was happening in the other. So thank you for bringing that to light.
Also, the others, we're kind of working this on two fronts. One is an agreement for them to collect, and the other one is the county attorney is kind of pushing the point that we think that you have collected in the past and never remitted to us. So this is a two-front thing going on here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't want to comment on that because I don't know whether that's litigation or what's going on there, but I do have several short-term rental people who have said that over the years, Airbnb has collected from them and we've never received any money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swan.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move on, I do want to say we have several transfers from the contingent account, and we do have $120,253.34 in there, and you'll see it's going to get whittled down by the end of the meeting. All right, we'll move on to number 3. Is Wayne here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do you want, I understand you want to pull number 3, is that correct?
Yes, I'm willing to do that. We submitted this resolution request to close these accounts before the end of the year so that the grantor agency we wouldn't be required to provide the grantor agency another audit for the 2021 year. The accounts were done with the grants. The county assigned the closeout agreement. Apparently yesterday or the day before, the treasurer's office on the CD 75 account found some discrepancies. Everything that we have billed the state has been paid. Apparently there were some other charges that were levied against the account that I'm not aware of. So we need to figure those out. So talking with Ron, we can just go ahead and table this or send it back to committee, and hopefully by the end of January, we'll have it all figured out.
All right, thank you. So we want to plan on just sending it back to the committee then? Okay, so we'll plan on doing that. Thank you, Wayne. Referrals from the Health Services Committee, Office of the Aging. A, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $4,887.46 to appropriate district funds into the departmental budget for use. I would like to make that motion.
I'll move that and B.
All right, someone make a second to that? Supervisor McDevitt, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on into public health. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $1,625 to appropriate a portion of the 2021 bioterrorism grant, which will be used to cover salary and fringe-related expenses for a per diem position needed to cover COVID-19 pandemic-related activities for the remainder of 2020.
I will move that as well as D.
All right, would someone like to second that? Mr. McDevitt, any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to number 5, referral from the Human Services Committee, Department of Social Services. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $13,000 to reflect the receipt of funding from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services to be used for foster care, aging out support during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to make that motion. Supervisor Bramer, second by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? All right, we'll vote then. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Referral from the Park O&M Committee. Request for a transfer of funds in the estimated amount of $26,227.91 from the contingent account to cover shortages in Charles R. Wood Park budget. All right, would someone like to make the motion for that one? Supervisor Molino, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to number 7, referrals from the Public Works Committee. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $3,432.50 to reflect the receipt of an insurance recovery payment dated November 4, 2020 for vehicle repairs.
I'll move that in B.
All right. Bramer makes the motion. A second to that. Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Yes. Pardon me. Someone opposed?
One opposed.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We're going to C. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $21,776.76 to reflect the receipt of funds from a New York State Department of State grant intended for the purchase of snow and ice removal related equipment. Someone like to make that motion? Supervisor McDevitt, second to that motion. Supervisor Simpson,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to D. Request to increase capital project H 381 South Johnsburg Road CR57 over Mill Creek, Town of Johnsburg, in the amount of $86,462 to increase the local match share for estimated construction and construction inspection costs. Someone like to make that motion? Pardon me?
Could we move D through H?
They kind of seem to fall under all capital projects, correct?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. Could we have a second to that motion? Supervisor McDevitt, any discussion on those? We'll vote then. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Referral from the Support Services Committee, Information Technology. Request to amend the county budget in the amount of $9,000 to adjust for increased expenses related to telephone service. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Mr. Stroud made the motion. A second to the motion, Mr. McDevitt. Any discussion?
We have a question, Sharon.
Yes, go ahead.
Where are they getting that money? What department is this?
IT. Brad? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can explain that because it came to my department.
Go ahead.
Or to my chairmanship. Basically, what it's due to the COVID. We've had so much more phone use and that, with everything going on. So basically, all that money is coming from everybody's little bit of budgets. It's all going to go in there. They just need to pay the bill, and then every department's going to put their little extra in there. That's where it's going. Does that answer your question?
Mike did explain it at your meeting. I remember that. All right, we'll vote on that one then. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. 9, request to be discussed by the county administrator. Mr. Moore.
Thank you. Item A is the typical item that we have in finance on the journal report of transfers approved by staff. Any questions on those transfers? Okay. Item B is the carryover from the personnel committee for the transfer of funds from contingency to cover for the director of public affairs position.
All right, I need a motion for that. Supervisor Simpson, a second to the motion.
Second.
Supervisor Bramer.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, you're not.
I'm not.
Oh, okay, so we'll take Supervisor Bramer, second by. Yes, you are, man. Yes. Well, you can tell it's the end of the year. Okay, so all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
One opposed.
Yes.
Opposed.
Mr. Stroud, you're opposed? Okay, noted. Mr. Moore?
Thank you. Item C is, this is a reference to at the Public Health Committee meeting. Janelle brought a resolution request that would have authorized health services to amend all their insurance agreements, such as managed Medicaid, managed Medicare, and the commercial insurances, in order to account for what was believed to be a 20% withholding related to the difficulties with COVID. That, first of all, and we had said that we would come to finance with a financial report for what the estimated fiscal impact of that would be. Essentially, what this does is we're a provider and we get paid by those different sources. And so the 20% funding withholding that we thought we were going to have would have been an impact on us. It turns out that the actual amount is 2% or less. It depends on which source, and it depends on when the bill is from. Some started withholding 1, some went to 1.5, some went to 2. And there is no need for a resolution on this. Back in 2001, I think, when these contracts were initially authorized, they were authorized in a manner that would allow the chairman of the board to execute any amendments that are related to these withholdings, because these withholdings do happen from time to time, depending first and foremost on the state's finances. The state drives a lot of this. The last time it happened, I believe, was in 2014. So that's the first piece, that there is no need for a resolution that came out of the health committee. And the second piece is Tom Driscoll did do an estimate based on this year and last year's billings as to what the impact of this withholding could be. And it's going to be somewhere less than $10,000. And I think that Tom and Tim and Janelle are still on if anyone has any questions about this piece.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, so are we moving something or no?
No, this is informational. No questions? Item D is also on behalf of health services. This is going to be contingent on whether or not the state allows us to pay these personnel costs out of the ComCare grant. So earlier in the year, when COVID first started, the grant amount made available to public health was $7,000. And then an additional, Janelle, was it $95,000? Do I have that right?
That's correct.
An additional $95,000. These were very general grants that would cover any COVID-related expenses. We've used those grants to cover, for instance, our testing site. We also have used that grant to cover the per diem positions that assist the public health department with contact tracing, and they're kind of jack of all trades positions that assist in the COVID effort. Those positions can continue to be covered under that $95,000 plus $7,000, but the better way to maximize that funding pool would be to cover those positions under a separate ComCare grant that the state has made available. Warren County's amount for that ComCare grant is somewhere in the neighborhood of $216,000. So this budget transfer would move those costs from the general grant over to the ComCare grant. We're asking for this transfer in the event that the state agrees to that. Janelle has been working very closely with the State Department of Health to confirm that they will allow that. When this grant came into being, the Department of Health told us that these costs could be covered under this grant, but the Department of Health has since decided that they wanted all the counties to use their ComCare system in a different way. So we are working with them to make sure that we're in compliance with the way they want us to use their contact tracing data system, and to ensure that as a result of that, they will indeed go and do what they said they do and cover those costs, beginning with the inception of the grant. So I think we would be looking to cover costs from July through December, and that's what this transfer request represents. But if the state doesn't agree to that, then we may end up pulling this request.
All right, so at this point, though, we do need a motion to approve the request. Supervisor Garrity, a second by Supervisor Bramer. Any further discussion? Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. I just want to make sure, I tried to say a comment at the end of the personnel about what a great job Director Jones has been doing and with managing all of the aspects of the COVID crisis, and that includes our finances. I think she's been doing a great job there, and I wanted to recognize her for it. Thank you.
I think that's wonderful. They have been doing a terrific job. All right, we'll move on to number 10, request. I'm sorry. Sidetrack. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now we'll move on to number 10. Request items to be discussed by the clerk of the board.
This is just we talked about this is personnel. It was where we had the shortage in the coroner's budget. The personnel committee approved a $10,000 transfer from the contingent account, and now the finance committee approved it as well.
All right, motion made by Supervisor Garrity, a second by Supervisor Bramer. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. The last thing is finance committee action is required on the following items approved by the Personnel Administration Committee. Agenda items 2G and 6A.
I'll move that.
All right, Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Bramer. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. I think our contingent is now down to around $18,000, so we made quick use of that money. So, okay, no pending items. Don, do you have anything for us?
Hello, Chairwoman Frazier. No, there is no public comment right now on YouTube.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor McDevitt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.